Hey guys, Hitman89 here, I hope you're doing great, and today I'm gonna show you the best recent strategy games you should play right now. On this list there will be some real-time, turn-based, tactical and historical games, so hopefully you will find at least a couple of good games that'll keep you entertained for a while. And if you do, then I'd really appreciate it if you could beat the shit out of the like button. Now without further ado, let's get started with the first game. Spellforce 3 Reforced is an enhanced version of the original game that came out 4 years ago. It's got an improved campaign, a redesigned UI, and a lot of balancing has been done to improve the gameplay. Apart from that, this edition adds an arena mode and controller support, because the game is coming to consoles, which is awesome. I mean, consoles definitely need more strategy games, and this one is unique because it offers a perfect mix of RTS and RPG elements. On this game, other than your regular units, you have a hero, and he has an inventory, an experience bar, skill points and gold coins to collect and spend on potions and gear. Campaign mode allows you to choose between 3 races: humans, elves, and orcs. Oh, and by the way, versus mode is free to play on PC, so if you're not interested in playing the campaign, you could just download Spellforce Versus Edition and play skirmish mode for free. Speaking of free, check out my friends on YouTube. Their channel is called Should You Play It, and they review all the free games released on the Epic Games Store and tell you whether they're worth your time or not. And since we're talking about strategy games, they reviewed games like Civilization 6, Survive on Mars, and Europa Universalis. So please go check out their channel and tell them Hitman89 sent you. You'll find their link in the description. Now at number 2 we have a PC exclusive, for now at least. Humankind is a civilization-like game where you start with a tribe of hunter-gatherers and you have to collect enough food and survive to evolve. Every time you start a new era, you can switch the culture type of your civilization, so you're not stuck with the one you started with, and that's a great idea. Every game lasts about 10 hours and Humankind has a huge amount of possibilities and replayability options. So if you're looking for a good strategy game to dive into and that'll keep you busy for the rest of your life, Humankind could be it. And even though the combat system can be simplistic, it's much more interactive than, let's say, Civilizations. So I really enjoyed playing Humankind, but I suck at it, so all my cities end up either rioting or starving. Shit happens. Moving on to the third game on my list, Age of Empires 4 might not be the best one of the series so far, but it's definitely a great game. The graphics have this semi-cartoony look that I don't like, but at least the game is well optimized, and by that I mean it runs on my shitty PC. The gameplay is good and the audio is just awesome. All civilizations are voiced, so while playing this game, get ready to hear all kinds of languages. It obviously has a campaign mode, skirmish and multiplayer as well, even though when it comes to strategy games, I prefer playing them alone against the CPU, so I can just save the game and leave whenever I want to. Let me know if you're like me or if you think I'm weird. So Age of Empires 4 is super addictive, it's got plenty of maps and unique civilizations, but it's got horrible pathfinding and an even worse AI. For example, when you ask your units to attack a group of enemies, if the soldier you clicked on dies or gets out of sight, your dumbass army will just stop moving and stand there instead of attacking the nearest enemy units, and that pisses me off. Now, let me show you a game that's available on both PC and console so everyone can play it. At number 4 we have Evil Genius 2. I played it on PS5, it runs and looks amazing. And even though usually I only play strategy games with the keyboard and mouse, which in Evil Genius 2's case are supported on console as well, the smartly mapped controls made me enjoy playing the game with the controller. By the way, special thanks to buygames.ps for providing me with all the console games I need. They sell PlayStation and Xbox games for amazingly cheap prices, so check them out. Back to Evil Genius 2, the whole concept of being the villain and ruling the world is pretty original. I mean, how many games allow you to do that? Plus the game is funny, decent looking, original and very fun to play. But the tutorial lasts 69 hours, so if you know what you're doing, make sure to disable it before you start a new game. Anyways, moving on to the next game on my list. If you're a Warhammer fan and you like tactical games, then you really need to play Warhammer 40k Battlesector. And the good thing about the combat system here is that it's not a straight up XCOM copy-paste like most games do. Instead, it turns it into something much more fast-paced and straightforward. So overly relying on a cover system is not possible here, because apart from hiding behind other units or a building, you can't take cover. Which means, gameplay-wise, Battlesector is different and interesting. Speaking of interesting, I found the campaign much more interesting than skirmish mode on this game. Probably because you can't build anything, you just have to manage your units during combat. And as you can see, the graphics are dated, so even if you have an old-ass PC, you could probably run Warhammer 40k Battlesector properly, or you could just play it on PS4 or Xbox One. Now, the sixth game on my list is already out on the Epic Games Store and it's coming to Steam later this year. It's called Old World and it's a 4X game made by the lead designer of Civilization 4. Now, what makes Old World much more complex and deeper than Civilization and Humankind is that it basically has a few elements from Crusader Kings III, which allows for better interactions with other factions and even with your own family members. You get to decide who marries who, what your children will study, and what they will become later on. Generals, ambassadors, or whatever you want, because in this game, you're basically an heir apparent. Oh, and characters have realistic lifespans, so every 25 to 30 turns, somebody dies. It might shock you the first time you lose your leader, but you'll quickly get used to it, and you won't give a shit about anyone anymore. What I really like about Old World is that every decision matters. Even something like accepting gifts from strangers could have some serious consequences. Just like in real life, if you accept candies from a stranger, you shouldn't be too surprised to end up in the back of their van. In all seriousness though, I played as Carthage, and when I first met the Egyptians, they offered my soldiers food and gifts, which I thought was pretty cool, and I didn't want to be rude and reject their gifts, so I accepted it. 2 years later, all of my soldiers died. Turns out those motherfucking Egyptians poisoned our food. And that's the kind of stuff that can happen in Old World, and I love it. So if you haven't played it yet, you definitely should. Now let me show you a completely different game. Field of Glory 2 Medieval is an underrated turn-based game that looks like it came out 20 years ago, which means you can play it even if your PC is old as fuck. But don't worry about the graphics too much. Gameplay is what really matters here anyways, plus if you love tabletop war games and historical accuracy, you should really give Field of Glory 2 Medieval a shot. But the sound design is just horrible, so keep that in mind. Now if you want to manage your resources and troops, but also take part in epic battles, then you might want to check out the next game on my list. Because Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord, which is finally getting a full release later this year, is an RTS and an RPG at the same time. You can create your own character, then start alone and recruit a couple of people to make your first clan, later on an army, and you can even have multiple kingdoms. So apart from managing and leading your troops directly from the battlefield, you can fight in third person or in first person view as well. I played Bannerlord since it went in early access, and now, 2 years later, it hasn't evolved much, and that's why I'm recommending it to you. Just kidding. Tons of bugs have been fixed and plenty of features were added since. Performance is also much better now, and even though the game is not done yet, the real reason I'm recommending it to you guys in 2022 is, like I said, it's getting a full release later this year. So if you liked Warband, then I'm sure you'll love Bannerlord, as it's basically the same game with much better graphics, as long as you have a decent rig. Cause as you can see, it looks like shit on mine. I still had tons of fun playing it though. Now at number 9 we're gonna be looking at Total War Warhammer 3. At the moment of making this video, the game isn't out yet, but based on the previews I've seen and also based on the long hours I spent playing Warhammer 2, I decided to make this video future-proof by putting this game on my list. Oh, and by the way, Warhammer 3 will be on PC Game Pass day 1, so if your PC can handle it and you don't want to spend $60, then maybe get it through Game Pass. Anyways, Warhammer 3 has some new stuff like the addition of RPG elements when playing with the Demons of Chaos faction, so you'll be able to customize your Demon Prince, aka your champion, by completing certain quests to unlock new body parts and weapons. Also, technically speaking, as you can see, the graphics are just insane. Last but not least, the 10th game I want to show you is Crusader Kings III, which came out on PC 2 years ago, and the good news is it's coming to PS5 and Series X in March. So by the time you find out about this video, the game will most likely be already available on next-gen consoles as well. Now if you don't know about Crusader Kings, it's a strategy game that's more about human relationships than castles and things. Don't get me wrong though, you could obviously still take over the world with a big enough army. Or you could have sex with everyone, including your brothers, sisters, parents and kids. It's fucking hilarious. And if right now you're thinking, hey Hitman, are you saying incest is funny? That's exactly what I'm saying. Anyways, that's gonna be it for the best strategy games you should play right now. I did my best to mostly pick games that came out this year or last year, so I hope you found this video useful. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new to the channel, and please check out my other videos. I make game reviews and top 10 videos that I hope you find interesting. Anyways, it's been Hitman89. See you guys very soon.